Presidential candidate and governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, sat down with Megyn Kelly.
If you can't stand up for the protection of children, then what good are you as a governor? I mean, honestly.
Among the topics, Trump attacking states that were trying to protect bathrooms and locker rooms.
Do you think that Trump is soft on this issue?
DeSantis also says that the seeds were planted.
And he now is letting transgender beauty queen Jenna Talikova compete.
What? Are you retarded?
When Trump was head of the Miss Universe pageant.
Well, we went by the laws of Canada and the laws of the United States.
What the fuck? It's not a rhetorical question. Are you retarded?
Oh my. I'm Jas Borganzo, and this is what's next. Hey, what's up, everyone? Jas Borganzo, your daily dose. What's next? Of course, this is the weekend edition. Hope you guys are doing well today. Stay cool, please. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, savage. We all saw the red wave that really didn't happen anywhere else in the country except in Florida. He dominated Charlie Crist, blowing him out by 20 points, the biggest margin of any governor in the history of that state or any state in this nation's history. Now, with that being said, he chose to run for president. Now, he is running. Now, in some polls, he's behind Donald Trump. Other polls, he's right there neck and neck. The candidates. We all know that this comes down to Trump and DeSantis. You can say it right now. It doesn't matter. You could have said it a week ago. You could have said it 2 weeks ago. It doesn't matter. You got Haley, Pence, I think, what's his face from Jersey, Chris Christie. You have Vivek Swami. I'm probably butchering his name, and I apologize. He's probably the only one. Let's not forget Asa Hutchinson. We all saw what Tucker did. Tucker destroyed him. But Vivek is probably the only one, great speaker, great knowledge, great off the top of his head, who could probably garner some votes that could possibly hurt either Trump or DeSantis. But with that being said, DeSantis really sat down with Megyn Kelly. Now, for anybody who's been watching Megyn Kelly over the last, give or take 6 to 8 months, she is all in for Donald Trump, but she has no problem with other opinions, other voices, and she's willing to be open. In one part of the interview, Megyn Kelly asked Ron DeSantis regarding the situation with, quote, Transanity. Of course, as we've seen over the last 6 to 8 months, Transanity has run amok, and I mean on steroids, royally. But DeSantis has some interesting to say in regards to Trump planting seeds and being there early on, that he, quote, started this. Oh my. Let's take a look. This comes out of Breitbart. DeSantis, Trump attacked states trying to protect locker rooms and bathrooms. But before we play the clip, let's read a little bit into it. During an interview with Sirius Megyn Kelly, that took place on Thursday and aired on Friday, 2024 presidential candidate, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, stated that his 24 rival, former President Donald Trump, was, quote, a pioneer in injecting men into women's competitions, and has also opposed things like protecting locker rooms and bathrooms. When he was running, he said North Carolina shouldn't have done that when they did. And that's a fact. Anybody can pull up the clips that when he was interviewed, he was not a fan of North Carolina, saying, yeah, you're going to use the bathrooms of your birth. DeSantis stated, quote, he had been a pioneer in injecting men into women's competitions because he was doing that with beauty pageants way back in the day, about 10 years ago, so, and whatnot. Then there's opposed to things like protecting locker rooms and bathrooms. When he was running, he said North Carolina shouldn't have done that the way they did. So I think that's where our voters are at. I think our voters believe that standing up for women and girls means protecting the rights to compete with integrity and protecting things like bathrooms and locker rooms. And so he had been very clear on the issue, and I don't think that's where our voters are. Kelly asked, do you think he might have changed? 15 versus now is a lifetime on the issue of the, quote, trans rights thing. DeSantis answered, I don't know. I think if it wasn't that kind of flippant opinion on him, but he was really one of the leaders making this a big issue culturally and nationally. But let's hear the clip.
Move on. What's your plan to protect women and girls from men who claim they are trans trying to get into our spaces and our sports?
Well, in Florida, we've done all of that. So girls' sports, women's sports is protected. Men can't be injecting themselves into those competitions. It takes away opportunities for girls and for women athletes. And we did that years ago here as governor. We've also protected the locker rooms and the bathrooms so that men are not going into women's, very sensitive places. And I think that should be, the rule, period. We will look within the constitutional authority of the federal government. We'll look to do the same for women's sports and those issues nationally.
Title IX?
Yeah, I think so.
Bingo. Bingo.
There was an ad recently released that was controversial online that portrayed you as a warrior against certain these LGBTQ issues, and Trump is soft on them. The New York Times reports that you were actually behind that ad, your campaign. You definitely promoted it and defended it. Do you think that Trump is soft on this issue, the issue of trans rights versus women's rights?
Well, I think that what was pointed out there was, he had been a pioneer in injecting men into women's competitions because, he was doing that with beauty pageants way back in the day, 10 years ago or whatnot. And then
With
he's
the
also
Miss Universe
opposed
pageant when he was
like
head of it.
protecting locker rooms and bathrooms when he was running. He said North Carolina shouldn't have done that when they did it. So that, I think, is not where our voters are on that. I think our voters, believe that standing up for women and girls means protecting their right to compete with integrity and protecting things like bathrooms and locker rooms. And so, he just had been very clear on that issue, and I don't think that's where our voters are.
Do you think he may have changed? I mean, 15 versus now is a lifetime on the issue of the trans rights thing.
I don't know. I mean, I think that, it wasn't just that, he had kind of a flippant opinion on it. I mean, he was really one of the leaders in making this a big issue.
Well, DeSantis isn't lying. He's not lying regarding how Trump was, like I said, we don't know how his attitude was regarding Transanity, because really 10 years ago, 12 years ago, the whole Transanity thing wasn't the way it is now, especially now with kids being groomed. Back then, Donald Trump might have thought, okay, well, it's a PR thing, because he's Donald Trump. Bad publicity is good publicity, regardless. So he allowed it to occur in both America and Canada. Of course, depending on the rules. So he allowed it to occur. It was a Russian model who was a dude who decided to cut himself up and make himself a woman to compete in the Miss Universe pageant. He allowed it to happen. And of course, he did make a comment regarding North Carolina, because at the time, North Carolina was hot because they decided, you know what, we're going to do bathrooms by birth, not because of how you feel. And of course, people got upset. Everyone from Disney to the NBA to, of course, Donald Trump had to jump in and said, well, it's not a good thing. By the end of the day, that law was watered down so much that it meant nothing. But DeSantis is right. We don't know what Donald Trump's comments are regarding it. It would be nice if someone interviewed him and say, hey, you know what? It's been brought up that when you were head of the Miss Universe pageant, that you allowed Transanity to run amok in your pageants. What do you say? We don't know, but it would be nice to hear. With that being said, I'm Josh Berganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it, hit the notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. And we'll see you next time. Peace.